I wasn't doing anything weird, is what somebody would say if they were doing something weird. I'm War Machine MJ. Hey guys, welcome back to an episode of the 3 Count. And yes, another takeover in the books, another pay-per-view in the books. I am 3 for 3 as far as pay-per-views in the 3 Count series go, and I am leading in the 3 Count series. You want to know how that shakes out? Just go ahead and tune into our next edition of Pay Per Review. Anyway, aside from that, I'm here today to talk about Monday Night Raw from June the 8th. Of course, the Monday Night Raw go home to Backlash, of course, dubbed the greatest wrestling match ever. I feel like it's a giant work. They're just fucking with us. Because Vince is, apparently he's in a fucking mood, and apparently this is just to fuck with us. This is just something to pop himself. Anyway, let's go ahead and let's just jump into this, alright? So, we kick off the show with, it was supposed to be Asuka taking on Charlotte Flair. Of course, Charlotte is now sans NXT Women's Championship, given that she lost it to Little Miss Shirai at Takeover in the Triple Threat. But before they could get the match proceedings underway, the new WWE Tag Team Women's Tag Team Champions slash SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and Sasha Banks interrupted, and basically they rubbed their titles in Charlotte and Asuka's faces. Also rubbed the fact that that Charlotte didn't have a belt to her name right now, and then they were interrupted by the Iconics, who announced that there would be a triple threat tag team championship match at Backlash. Of course, Bayley and Banks will defend against the Iconics. I'm sorry, the Iconics. Anyway, defend against the Iconics, and of course, defending against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Would say their team name because it's adorable as shit, but it's kind of long, and it didn't roll off the mouth too well. Anyway, yeah, it just wound up becoming both heel teams beating down Charlotte and Asuka until they were chased away, and we came back from commercial, and well, we had triple threat tag team action as Charlotte and Asuka, the unlikely team, took on Bayley and Banks, taking on the Iconics. Of course, the Iconics gelled as a team. Bayley and Banks gelled as a team. But Charlotte and Asuka were just a wee bit chippy, tagging themselves in, taking umbrage with, the fact that they were getting tagged out. The finish came down to Charlotte gearing up for a top rope moonsault on Billie Kay, but Asuka tagged herself in last second and made Billie Kay tap out to the Asuka lock. After the match, while Asuka was celebrating the win in everybody's faces, Charlotte just laid her out with a big boot. Next up, before we went to commercial, we were going to have an interview with Rey Mysterio from his house, another one. But before we went to commentary, Seth Rollins got on commentary, and he was going to have a heart-to-heart with Rey Mysterio. And The only thing we got from this before commercial was Seth going, "Hi Ray, how are you doing?" and Ray just saying, "You son of a bitch." Commercial, come back from commercial. Rollins invited Ray and his son to next week Raw. Um, but Ray said, "No, I know why you're inviting me because I'm not medically cleared. But when I am medically cleared, I'm going to whoop your ass." And this was great, by the way. While the camera was still focused in on Seth Rollins, Aleister Black came clear out of fucking nowhere and just dogpiled Seth Rollins, beating down on Seth Rollins. We went to commercial, came back, and we had a tag team match. Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black taking on Austin Theory and Murphy. Uh, Pretty good match. However, in the end, Aleister Black pinned Buddy Murphy with a roll-up. And afterwards, both Carrillo and Black were beaten down. And of course, Humberto Carrillo got put down with the ATL, and Aleister Black got put down with Murphy's Law. Next, we had the Peep Show with Christian and special guest. You think you know him? Edge. One half of the greatest wrestling match ever. Um, yeah, basically it was Christian grilling Edge. Basically, questioning him, questioning his motives, basically telling him, if you don't have the drive, then go home. We don't need you here. Go home. And of course, Edge's response is, "Well, how do you think I feel? I haven't wrestled a straight up match in 9.5 years. This would just be like being dropped off at the base of Mount Everest with no gear and no crew and being told to climb." Of course, when Christian told Edge, if you're not gonna show up, show yourself out," Edge got that fired up look in his eye, and Christian's like, "There it is. That's why I wanted to see. We believe in you." And it was this whole brotherly love type talk. Randy Orton comes up on the jumbotron and says, "Listen, you guys just stop it. You're going to make me sick." And yeah, Randy Orton just basically vowed to send Edge packing back to his wife and kids, and that's pretty much how it ended. Next, we had the had MVP's VIP lounge. There's a lot of letters in that anyway. And before this, we had a backstage segment where MVP was given a little bit of the details on Bobby Lashley's full Nelson that he may or may not have ripped off from Chris Masters. Anyway, he was interrupted by R-Truth, who was trying to hide, and yeah, MVP dismissed him as a clown before Bob Lashley tore him apart with that vicious full Nelson. Before we got... Oh, VIP Lounge was later on. Whoops, my bad. Next, we had the Street Profits, Viking Raiders, Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better challenge, which this time it was a decathlon, which was a series of 10 events chosen by both parties. Of course, there was a 100-yard dash, which Montez Ford picked up easy. That man is wary. You know, he's very, very thin, very aerodynamic. there was an archery segment which Viking Raiders, swept up. Then there was Flip Cup, which I don't even think that, well, whatever. It's just a stupid game, stupid party game, which Street Profits won. Then it was going to be sword fighting between Montez Ford and Ray Rowe, which Montez Ford surrendered. So that was a free point for Viking Raiders. Next was what was next? Next was a hurdle race, which Montez Ford won, or yeah, it was Dawkins. Dawkins won because he jumped the hurdles. Meanwhile, Hansen ran through the hurdles. Next, there was Stick War, which was basically tug of war, but the loser got pulled into a kiddie pool filled with goat's milk, which Viking Raiders won. Then there was the shot put, which Street Profits won. Then there was a pole vault, which Montez Ford and Hansen both competed in, which ended up being a draw. Then there was a dance-off, which Street Profits won because Montez Ford was cutting a rug to Shawn Michaels' theme. Meanwhile, Hansen was cutting a rug to Fandango's theme. And of course, they did the random female thinks Hansen is cute. Ray Rowe, not so much. Again, why does Ray Rowe look rejected every time he gets told not so much? He has a wife. Why does he value the opinion of some random female? Anyway, the whole enchilada boiled down to a 5-5 tie, which means, well, it's a tie as far as the whole competition as a whole, 2-2. Next, something that's actually matters was a triple threat #1 contenders match for the United States Championship at Backlash. Before the match kicked off, Apollo Crews rocking a new entrance track. Basically, provided the stakes for the match. Basically said, winner will take me on at Backlash. Of course, this was between Angel Garza, Andrade, and Kevin Owens. Throughout the whole match, it was mostly Angel Garza and Andrade beating down Kevin Owens and just having a very, very shaky alliance. Down the stretch, Andrade and Angel Garza were at each other's throats. Zelina Vega tried to get him back on track until Andrade and Garza shoved her down. So she got help to the back, but the finish of the match played out as such. Kevin Owens hit the stunner on Garza, but Andrade pinned Garza to get the victory. He'll move on to Backlash to take on Apollo Crews. Next we had Next, we had a Charlotte Flair interview, which I tuned out for, except for she got interrupted by Asuka, who was grooving into frame, and Charlotte asked her, "Do you take anything seriously?" Asuka just laughed and then slapped the taste out of her mouth. She's like, "Yup." And then it was confirmed that they were going to be the main event for the evening. Next, we had a backstage segment where Garza and Andrade were arguing back and forth. Zelina Vega rolls up, and Andrade's just like, "Are you okay?" And all she does is, point, tells him, "Go. Go. No tranquilo. Go. No es bueno. Go." Then we had MVP's VIP lounge. MVP was hyping up Bobby Lashley, but he was interrupted by Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre said, "Well, looks like everything is cool between you and me. You were giving me that brilliant introduction. You forgot one tiny detail, and that's WWE Champion." And McIntyre, well, long and short of it, McIntyre basically threatened to kick MVP's head off, but he said he's gonna go with the countdown and he's gonna kick MVP's head off. Lashley made his presence known, sliding into the ring. And while him and McIntyre locked eyes, MVP tried to do something sneaky, but McIntyre just headbutted the hell out of him, then cut his focus right back to Bob Lashley, daring him to do something. And then the Viking Raiders and Street Profits came out to ringside, setting up the tag team match. MVP and Bob Lashley taking on the Viking Raiders with McIntyre and the Street Profits at ringside. During the match, there was a interview with Lana, basically more or less trying to write her off of this story. Because if you ask me, she was doing absolutely nothing and it makes no fucking sense. Like I've said multiple times on this show, why is she getting mad that MVP is stepping in? MVP's actually helping Bob Lashley get opportunities. Anyway, basically she said she's going to stop worrying about Bobby and she's going to make sure that 2020 is her year. The rate we're going, she can have 2020. Just crumple up and just right into the can. Yeah, the finish of this tag team match came about when Lashley made Eric tap out to the full Nelson, or Hanson tap out to the full Nelson. Afterwards, it just busted out into a full-on brawl as Bob Lashley got his head kicked clean off while he was still holding Hanson. While he was still holding Hanson in the full Nelson. And finally, that led us to our main event for the evening. It was Asuka taking on Charlotte. Of course, right before the match kicked off, Bayley and Sasha Banks sat in on commentary. They didn't stay long as they were attacked by the Iconics, who were already changed and in the crowd. Then once all four of those women got vamoosed, down the stretch, Nia Jax made her presence known. She got up on the apron. Asuka knocked her off and just distracted Asuka long enough for Charlotte to hit the big boot, go home, win the match. And then Nia Jax dropped Asuka with a Samoan drop. Yeah, that's how we closed out Monday Night Raw. Eh. So, yeah. That that being said, if you miss Rod's opinions, he has a podcast. It's called Prime Talk with Rodimus Prime. Go check him out. He needs somebody to listen to his opinions. Anyway, that being said, I'm War Machine MJ, and I will see you guys next time. Ba-bang!